to fund the city's police and fire departments.
Heat advisory sticking around with us for today and tomorrow. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And Spain bans air conditioning below 80 degrees in public spaces.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The city of Joplin considers its next steps after failing to pass Proposition Public Safety. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, the next step to find funding for the Joplin Police and Fire Departments. That proposal was to fund new wage scales for both police and fire through a property tax hike. City Manager Nick Edwards says listening to and understanding what voters want is the next step.
So there's a lot of different concerns and different ideas that were posted and discussed as part of the lead up to that election, and so fully understanding that feedback and working on a plan to continue to improve our public safety services is what we'll do next.
Edwards says the city will have to make plans that voters would ultimately approve. Well, Marian Days is back in Carthage. The annual festival has drawn tens of thousands of Vietnamese Catholics every year through 2019, and then it was canceled the last couple of years due to COVID. KOAM's Amber Jenkins attended last night's festivities.
It was a pain because it was like 6 hours. I was just sitting in the car, but it's all right. It's worth coming here.
Brennan has been to 5 Marian Days celebrations. He's excited that Marian Days is back because of the praise and worship at night is a sight to see.
Oh, praise and worship at night, it hits different because you see like a lot of multiple bands just singing, and like it gets you, you know.
This celebration is more than just fun. Marian Days recharges Brandon's faith.
Recharge your faith back, you know. Doing this, it brings your faith more and more, you know.
Brandon's faith is important to him. In today's world, faith is all you got.
Because we see the world right now, you know, like there's a lot of chaos and stuff, and like we just have to be grateful for what we have until you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
The celebration continues through Sunday and is open to the public. Well, firefighters take part in a heroic rescue at Joplin's Wildcat Glades yesterday. They helped the city's animal control rescue a dog that had fallen off the top of the cliffs, an area known as Mother Nature's Crack. Officials say the dog appeared to have been there for 3 or 4 days and was injured and dehydrated. Crews climbed down and brought a boat near the cliff to rescue the pup, who is now recovering. Well, the poor dog out in the heat for so many days. We've got more of it leading into the weekend, and Chris Warner joins us with a first look at the forecast.
Yeah, the Skywatch storm tracker is showing nothing going on earlier this morning. It's going to stay that way until about early evening. Heat advisories are about the only thing it has to show. That's a lot of orange. These heat advisories are running until tomorrow. Now, they're technically split up between today and tomorrow. So they'll run through 8 o'clock tonight and then kick back in tomorrow afternoon, run through 9 o'clock. And that's because we've got heat index values that are going to be pushing 105, maybe a pinch higher. Drought situation not getting any better, unfortunately. All of this red is extreme drought, only 1 mark away from the exceptional, which is the highest on the drought tracker. Some improvement up north where we've got abnormally dry conditions because they've been seeing a lot more rain up in the northern counties than what we have seen a little further south, and we hopefully will be able to get a little more rain in here over the next few days. Not a ton, but a little. As we go through the rest of the day, temperatures will eventually get to about 84 by midnight. All of us cooling off into the 70s for overnight lows tonight. We do have a chance for some isolated thunderstorms. These are going to be very isolated once we get into the early evening to late evening hours, but they should clear out overnight. We'll have more on your complete forecast in the Skywatch Weather Center here in just a few minutes.
The Senate Democrats reach a deal to move forward with a bill they say would reduce energy and health costs. The bill could get an initial vote as early as this weekend. Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill with a closer look at what Democrats are calling the largest ever single climate investment in U.S. history.
In a major step forward for Senate Democrats' climate and health care bill, Arizona's Kyrsten Sinema announced late Thursday that she's now on board. Sinema reached an agreement with the Senate Majority Leader to remove a tax provision that mainly impacted private equity and hedge fund managers. This paves the way for an initial vote on the bill as soon as this weekend.
Democrats need to use a budget tool known as reconciliation to pass the bill with just a simple majority, since no Republican senators support the measure.
To Manchin and Sinema, I admire you at times and I oppose you now. And I think what you're doing is that you're empowering the most radical people in this country to tax and spend at a time we can ill afford it. You're making it harder to get out of recession that we're in. You're going to increase gas prices, not lower them. And I think they need to be held accountable, and I intend to do that.
Democrats argue that tax increases in their bill will reduce the deficit. It would also invest nearly $370 billion in energy and climate programs, with a goal of lowering energy costs and reducing emissions by 40% by 2030.
The Inflation Reduction Act will mean we're making the largest investment ever in clean energy and American energy security, largest in our history.
The legislation includes tax incentives to buy clean energy and investment to build it, as well as grants aimed at cleaner ports, forests, and coastal habitats. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The bill also allows Medicare to begin negotiating prescription drug prices, and it extends the tax credits for people buying insurance through the Affordable Care Act. Well, South Korea is headed to the moon. The Asian nation's first lunar explorer hitched a ride aboard a SpaceX rocket Thursday night from Cape Canaveral. The South Koreans say they're hoping to send a spacecraft to the moon by 2030. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, Spain passes a new law banning air conditioning temperatures below 80 degrees. And later, we're making garden chicken and veggies in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. There's no question it's been a hot summer, and one of the benefits is air conditioning. But as CBS's Ian Lee reports, some countries are taking away that perk.
For another round of sweltering heat, temperatures are expected to top 100 degrees in the coming days. But folks in Spain won't find much relief indoors. A new law requires businesses, museums, restaurants, and public transport to follow strict temperature rules. This Spanish minister delivered the news, saying the thermostat in the winter should be held at a maximum 66 degrees, and in the summer, no cooler than 80 degrees. The law comes as Spain deals with a double whammy. The war in Ukraine has sent energy prices skyrocketing as Russia cuts gas supplies to Europe. Meanwhile, heat waves continue to cook the continent. Shops and public buildings are now required to turn off their lights when closed, and doors must remain shut when the AC or heating is on. Alex from Madrid backs the changes, saying, "That's good, isn't it? If it lowers energy consumption." While this man says putting the air conditioning at 80 degrees is a bit high. It's difficult and won't do much. But Spanish officials hope it will get the country through this summer and the energy crisis. Ian Lee, CBS News.
For companies that break the new energy rules, fines start at $60,000. Now, the good news is the Spanish law does not apply at home. The new limits are only recommended. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
You asked for it, so here it is. More foil pack recipes. And this one is one of our best.
But first, Chris Warner returns with your weekend forecast.
At Shape Technologies, we're shaping the future and taking pride.
The drought situation, despite the rain that we've seen, is not getting any better. As you can see, big chunks of the area in red for extreme drought, 1 mark away from the highest possible level on the drought tracker. The only place we've seen a little improvement is up north, where they've actually seen some rain. In fact, you can see the drought indicator's been removed up here, and we've got abnormally dry conditions, but the majority of us still very dry. Now, we have heat advisories today, and we wanted to go over this real quick because it's going to be another hot one. Heated index values could be pushing 105 later today and through the afternoon, and that puts us here in this range where heat exhaustion is likely if you overexert yourself outside, and heat stroke is possible. So you need to make sure that you're doing this and taking the appropriate precautions while you're outdoors, like staying hydrated and taking frequent breaks. Make sure you limit the strenuous outdoor activities. Wear lightweight, light-colored clothes. And as we've been saying this, I know this is getting old hat, but we just got to remind you, make sure you're also checking on the elderly. And if you've got any pets outside, make sure that they're staying hydrated and bring them in as you can, because it is going to be hot. As you see, at 6 o'clock, we'll be at 97, 93 by 8, 87 by 10, 84 by midnight. We do have some isolated thunderstorm chances right about in this range here. And they're going to be very isolated. But the good news is tomorrow they will be a little less isolated. Up through this morning, the Skywatch storm tracker really had nothing to show us. All that crazy stuff is not anything that's actually happening. But it does have this to show us, which is this nice bright orange color. It's heat advisories that we were talking about. They run through 8 o'clock tonight, and then they'll kick in again tomorrow and run through about 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow as well. Over the next 24 hours, temperatures will be pretty decent. Early isolated storm chances. They'll clear out overnight. The sun will return, but we also have some early morning scattered thunderstorm chances, believe it or not, and they should be clearing out by about 1 o'clock. And of course, as they do, the temperatures are going to warm up right behind them. So let's talk about those thunderstorm chances here on the future track. And you can see, first off, further west in southeast Kansas, say Yates Center, Independence, Parsons, hot. Very hot as we head into tomorrow evening. As we head into Sunday, though, as you can see, it doesn't do a lot of cooling, unfortunately, and the afternoon highs on Sunday, still the same thing. Maybe an isolated storm or two, but most of us staying dry, most of us staying hot. And as we head into Monday, we have better storm chances, which we'll talk about in the 7-day. These are the future feels likes for the rest of today, pushing close to 105 like we mentioned. And as we move into tomorrow, it's the same story. So let's talk about the rest of today. Temperatures are still expected to get into those mid to upper 90s, and then heat advisory will stick with us. Again, those isolated thunderstorm chances early to late evening, and then they'll clear out. As we head into the overnight, temperatures dropping back into the 70s, a nice mild evening with a southeast breeze and clear skies. And on the 7-day, you can see where it's going to be hot and hot and hot and hot. But the good news is by the start of next week, we have increasing scattered thunderstorm chances Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Once this system gets done with what it's doing, temperatures by the middle of next week, rather, are going to be pushing close to 100 degrees. And a quick look at the longer range, it's going to be toasty next week. But at least we're getting a few rain chances in there to help break up some of this heat.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Specialist John Hughes in the U.S. Army. The soldier from Erie, Kansas, served in the infantry in 2002, serving tours in both Germany and Iraq. To Specialist John Hughes, we thank you, our four-state hero. Today's tasty dinner recipe solves two mealtime dilemmas: portioning and cleanup. Howard shows us how to make garden chicken and veggies in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Whenever we do a recipe about foil pack cooking, we always seem to get lots of requests asking if we have more recipes like them. And for those of you who aren't familiar with how easy foil pack cooking is, let me share with you a chicken and veggie dish that is perfect for this time of year. We start by cutting 4 pieces of foil. Each piece should be about 12 by 18 inches. On top of each one, we place a boneless chicken breast sprinkled with Italian dressing mix. To give these lots of color and freshness, we combine some chunked up red peppers, zucchini, onions, and a little vegetable oil, along with a bit more of the dressing mix. Now we top each chicken breast with some of the veggie mixture and finish them off with some shredded mozzarella cheese before sealing them tightly. And whether you cook these in the oven, on the grill, or over the campfire, you'll be amazed at how easy they are. Once you open up these bundles of goodness and taste how juicy and flavorful the chicken is, are you ever going to be hooked on foil pack cooking? Plus, there are no pots and pans to wash, which is a double bonus. The recipe for our garden chicken and veggies is on our website and ready for you to make as soon as tonight. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a wrapped up way for you to say, ooh, it's so good. You are a screwball. Just take the piece.
That looks delicious. I definitely want to try this. You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
Heat advisories today and hot, and as we head into the weekend, same thing. Heat advisories continue into Saturday. Some isolated to scattered thunderstorm chances, otherwise pushing 100 degrees for the high. Heat index values as high as 105. Same deal on Sunday, so I wouldn't be surprised if some of those heat advisories get extended into Sunday. Otherwise, like I said, it's going to be hot.
Too hot for me. Well, coming up tonight at 5, New York State health officials are urging children and adults to get vaccinated against polio. We're going to take a look at where cases of the nearly eradicated disease are popping up again in Health Watch. Plus, the Carthage School District is using a piece of the past to help shape the future for some students. And it's tax-free holiday weekend. We're going to hear from shoppers at North Park Mall on what deals they're saving on this weekend. Join us for those stories and much more tonight on the KOAM News at 5. And thank you for joining us for the KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.